Okay.
Good morning. It's almost 7. I mean, whatever. 8:30. It says 7:30 there. 8:30. Let's start. Thank you very much again for showing up here or online. We have lots of people online right now, over 50 right now, and hopefully would increase. I'll give you a couple of real fast updates, and then we would go through the agenda back and forth. We are going to jump back and forth there. 2 quick updates. One of them regarding the indirect for state of California. You know that we had the last year, through the end of this month, the indirect is 25%, and projection from last year was that starting from July 1st, we would go 30, and then following year 35 and 40, and that 40 we would maximize. I mean, the maximum would be 40. But lots of discussions have been going on in the last several months. So the bottom line is that UCOP and state, they have agreed that the 25 would continue through the end of next fiscal year. So we would continue with 25 in general for state of California. Meanwhile, we have received some awards with 30%. So the question at this point is that what would happen to the difference? We would not be able to tell you that you can rebudget. Most probably, you have to talk to state to see how they want them. I mean, us to use the money. Hopefully, we would be able to persuade them to keep the 5%. But be prepared; they might want that 30, that 5% back. So you can't automatically, assume that you can rebudget. So that's the bottom line, that we would be at 25. CDFA, however, right now we are at 10. It would go to 15. CDFA is different from the rest of state. Any questions on that? Nothing there. Okay, next quick thing. You know that you heard about the AB 1880 something, which said that basically state money could not be used for travel to certain states. That law became effective January 1st, and the states which were on the list as of January 1st were Kansas, Mississippi, North Carolina, and Tennessee, 4 states. On June 22nd, the Attorney General of the State of California added 4 more states to that list. The new states are Alabama, Kentucky, South Dakota, and Texas. So there are 8 of them on the list now. The direction we have received from Office of the President is as follows. CSU has decided, as of earlier this year, they have decided that they would apply that to any travel to any of these states, regardless of source of fund, apparently. UCOP has decided to be a little bit more flexible. The law has lots of exceptions. So UCOP has said that we would basically allow the exceptions. There are cases that we have to be able to travel. Exceptions, some of them I'm going to read to you. There are like 6 or 7 of them. One of them is enforcement of California law, including audits, litigations. The one which is important to us, to meet contractual obligations incurred before January 1, 2017. The other one is to meet for training required by contracts and grants. Those are the exceptions that we would be able to follow. So anyway, lots of changes in those areas. Case by case, probably you have to be careful what source of money you use for these travels. Any questions on that? No. How about IRB? If you go forward with your update. Ready?
I'm ready.
Thank you.
How many of you in here are involved in human subject research? Just a few. Okay, how many of you know that the common rule has been revised and there's going to be big changes? Anyone know that? Okay. How many of you know what the common rule is? It's the regulations you follow for human subject protections for federally funded research. And then how many of you know about the requirement for single IRB? Okay.
About it.
A few people know. Okay, I'm just trying to get a poll to see what my how I should target my training for all this. So as some of you are aware, all the agencies got together, and actually there's more agencies. There are 19 agencies on the Revised Common Rule, where there were previously only 15. The one that's missing out of the bunch right now is Department of Justice. They have not adopted the Revised Common Rule. But the notice of the Revised Common Rule was posted back in January. It's supposed to be implemented next January 2018. But right now it's been on hold for that 60-day hold that started in February. Count. It's a little bit more than 60 days. And so it's on hold, and we still haven't heard what the outcome's going to be. We are proceeding as if the Common Rule is going to be implemented as it is written. We're still operating as it's going to be implemented on January 18th as proposed, but both of those assumptions can be wrong. And there is some rumor that it will be implemented, but it might be delayed because it's been on hold for so long. So some of the things that it does, it's a good thing. There are more exemptions from the requirement to IRB review. Some of those exemptions require a limited review. So we're not going to change our submission requirements. We're still going to require exempt research to be submitted. We also require, if you want a determination, a written determination that your research or the research you're working on is not human subject research, you still would need to submit to us to get that in writing. You're not required to submit those projects. I mean, the only time you have to do it is if you need something in writing. And some of the journals and some of the program officers require some written information that it's not human subject research. But for exemptions, you do need to turn those in and have us make a formal determination. Some of those will require a limited IRB review, as I said. There's going to also be big changes to the consent document. And the Revised Common Rule requires significant changes, and the formatting and the information that has to go on the front will be different. And then a lot of information about data and biospecimens are going to be required in your consent document. That is a big focus of the revisions to the Common Rule, is how are you going to use data and biospecimens? So when you're writing your proposals and your consent documents, think about, if you're collecting any biospecimens, what are you going to do with those? Are you going to use it in other research? Are you going to destroy it? You know, what are you going to do? And we'll have a template for you to use to trigger some questions. My recommendation is that you don't say you're going to destroy it, and you do say you're going to reuse it for something. That way, if something changes and they come back, you have a discovery in this research and you want to reanalyze stuff for other research, you'll have that ability to do it. Otherwise, you won't have that ability if you don't put it in your consent document. If you're going to do any genome sequencing, you've got to explain that in the consent document under the Revised Common Rule. You should be doing it now. There's also a provision for a broad consent form for use of data and specimens. I am debating whether or not we're going to do a broad consent template. It applies only to identifiable data and specimens. And here's the way the rule is written. You can get this broad consent if you're going to collect specimens or data or something and you think you want to reuse it, you can get this broad consent. But if someone refuses to sign the broad consent, you have to track it. And then the IRB cannot waive requirement for consent on those individuals to use that data and those samples. The other way to do it is not to get that broad consent. Submit your proposal to us, and the consent form that you collected it in should say you're going to reuse them. And then we would waive the requirement for consent. And so we prefer maybe this latter road because it's going to save us time and effort of trying to track who agreed to what. Okay. Also, the good thing about the Revised Common Rule is the changes to the requirement for continuing review. Now, when it's implemented for federally funded studies that are minimal risk and meet the expedited criteria, you don't have to submit for continuing review anymore. Right now, we are no longer doing continuing review on non-federally funded studies that are minimal risk and meet the criteria, but pretty soon it'll be across the board. And your only requirement for continuing review will be on research that is greater than minimal risk. That's about all about the changes to the common rule. The single IRB has been delayed. It was supposed to be implemented in September, and now it's going to be implemented in January. But you still really need to be thinking about how you're going to do this. If you are working on a study where a UC Davis PI is the lead PI, and you guys are writing the grant proposal, you are going to have to include the plan for IRB review in that grant proposal. And you also have to include it in the budget. Something that we're coming across that is really disturbing to me is that when you choose an IRB, some IRBs require the relying institutions. If we're going to rely on this other IRB, they're requiring us to sign these agreements that under state law we cannot sign, which makes our investigators lose a research opportunity. And so UCOP and a few other organizations are working with NIH to let them know about this, because it's just not fair. And what I would suggest is that if you're working on some sort of consortium to do research where there's more than one institution, try to get UC Davis to be the lead IRB, because that would be easier. Our agreement's acceptable. And we are on the Smart IRB. We're on IRB Choice also that you can use. Any questions about that? Okay. Call us early when you're in the planning phase, and we'll help, okay? We can help get the language and get the plan together for you. I am working with UCOP, different organizations, all the campuses, where there's several committees on how to budget for single IRB, how to bill for single IRB or work the costing structure for it, and how to write the proposals and things like that. So we're trying to come up with a consistent plan among the campuses. Any questions?
Good. No, there's nothing here either.
Okay. And the last thing to talk about is we did submit our application for reaccreditation through AHARP. It's only been 2 years. I went through that nightmare, and now we're doing it again. And so anyway, we've been through it before, so I think we'll do a little bit better this next go round. Some of you may be selected to be interviewed. What AHARP looks at is not the IRB. They look at the Human Research Protection Program across the campus. And so everyone who is involved in human subject research is subject to be interviewed by the group that comes and audits us, essentially, goes through all our systems and talks to people. So if you are selected to be interviewed, we will be scheduling a time with you to provide a little training so that you can answer the questions truthfully. Any questions about that?
That includes sponsored programs. We're a big part of the community.
Research coordinators,
program if you're
PIs.
Research coordinators, PIs, innovation access folks. Anyone who touches on language associated with human subject protection, like in agreements.
Yeah, or has face-to-face, or does the research, yeah. So I imagine I'm anticipating the visit to be either in October, 1st of November, or January is what I'm hoping for. And so those three, and some of those months there's a lot of people out, but it'll be what it'll be. Yeah. If you do plan vacation for that time, you need to have phone access at least so they can interview, because we can't recuse anyone unless they're ill. If they select you, they select you and you're it. Yeah. Anyone have any questions? Any questions just for the IRB in general? Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. You are doing a great job. That's why there's no question.
Either that or everybody's just too overwhelmed.
That's right. Yeah,
No,
that's
I mean,
probably what it is.
I don't agree with that. IRB is doing great. You have been doing a great job, and everybody's happy there. Thank you. Mike is not here, so we would talk about the vacation leave and so on and so forth later. How about an update on Cayuse? Exciting time now with Cayuse. We are going forward. It's just there's lots that we want to share with you.
Okay, we've been talking about Caillou starting on July 1st. Well, July 1st is literally right around the corner now. So here, I'll let Sherry talk to you about some of the project developments, and then we will tell you on the department level how it will affect you.
Thank you, Grace. The project team, we're continuing working on some of the things behind the scenes, including some of the email templates that we're finalizing, some of the more intricate details. Also, the reporting team, they're working extremely hard to make sure that the reports that SPO has and some of the reports that go out to campus are available at that July 1st timeframe. And they're actually on track to get those completed. I think they said there's going to be about 20 reports for this first phase, so which is a good thing. And we're also working and testing our feed from the new system to CGA for the KFS feed, and that is going really well. We're in QA testing for both sides, the CGA side and the Cayuse SP side. So we still have a lot of work to do. We've made a lot of progress. We're excited about the up and coming things that we have. We're working together as a team, and as with anything, there's a lot of bumps along the road, but we're taking those bumps together, and we're going to make sure that the cutover is as seamless as possible and as quick as possible. So that's our next step, is to put together all those plans and finalize all of those to bring on all the departments and colleges as quickly as possible so that we can alleviate some of the stress, not only on campus, but on SPO as well.
Yeah, and the cutover period that Sherry is referring to means we are currently in our old database, okay, which campus did not have access to. We are trying to start up Cayuse, and campus will have access to that. It will be a much more transparent system. The problem right now is a lot of the departments are not going live into the system yet. It's kind of a slow rollout. We have a plan in place to, okay.
Can I talk?
Okay.
So people need to understand there's different aspects of Cayuse, okay? We launched Cayuse, it's called 424, back in the fall, right? And that's proposal development only for your federal grants and contracts. What's going live July 1 for everyone across the board, no slow rollout, this is the cutover, is awards. So the award management part of the system is go live July 1 for everyone. So if you haven't been in the system yet, you will be getting an email that has a link into the system to pick up your award documents instead of having them attached to an email. So this is different, right? So everybody needs to understand that next week when you get an email that you have a new award, it's going to be in Cayuse. So everybody needs to understand that. The slow rollout is for the proposal development part. So another aspect of Cayuse is Cayuse called SP, which is a routing and submission mechanism that also accommodates non-federal proposals. All right. That is a part of Cayuse that we're rolling out slowly because it will have the biggest impact on our colleges and departments. And so we're rolling that out. We're still doing some pilots right now with certain departments within colleges to work out any bugs that might be there before the rest of you get it. But that is the part that's going to be slow. And we're hoping to roll it out through the summer and into the fall for each college. Once all the colleges are rolled out to, it will become the mandatory only way to submit a proposal. So, but between then, you have the flexibility of either doing Cayuse or doing the data sheet with Dropbox, however you've been doing it so far. So that I just wanted to be clear on what's actually, what's a hard rollout, what's a soft rollout, so everybody understands that.
Okay, so starting July 1st, the PIs will have access to their awards in Cayuse. However, here's the thing, unless your department is signed up, you as a department administrator will probably not be assigned a role yet. So if you are a department administrator, you will not be able to see the awards in your department. So if you want to have access to your department awards, please have your department sign up with us, okay? And contact, you can contact me, GILIU at ucdavis.edu, or you can contact Sherry. But we want to have your department roles assigned, okay? And roles assigned means those who have access to your department awards and those who can approve in your department when the proposal portion is rolled out to your college. Okay, I just want to make sure. And also, the proposal team will talk about this a little later. You will not be getting your automatic emails that you've come to rely on, all right? So once CGT goes away on July 1st, well, we will all be at home hopefully on July 1st because it's a Saturday. But starting on July 3rd, you are not going to get those automatic emails anymore. The issue right now is unless your department is the originating department, okay, and that's very few departments right now, you will not get those automatic emails, okay? Most of you will probably still be sending your data sheets to SPO starting July 3rd, and we will enter those data sheets for you, which means when they've completed review, you're not going to get those emails, okay? You will start getting those emails when the originating department enters and routes those proposals. Okay, are there any questions about that? Okay,
Questions online, Cassie?
okay. So those are just some of the changes coming down the pike.
So that distinction is very important. I have it here. Distinction is very important that Grace just made. If the department contacts, they want to see things in Cayuse, this is the time to tell us that your department is going to be a part of the system. But as Cindy said, at one point there won't be an option. You have to be there. So the sooner you get in there, the better, basically.
I did have one question that I answered, but it may be good for the group. Someone asked if you have access to 424, if you will have access to your Word documents in SP.
Okay, if you have the question was, if you have access to 424, will you have access to your award documents in SP? If you are a PI, you have access to your documents in SP. Log in using your Kerberos account, okay? The PIs do, but the department admins will not. So the department's admins have to be added into SP on a department by department basis.
And we'll have thank you. And we'll have a follow-up email that is going to come out from either Ahmed or from our Director of Communications with some updated information, all the links to the guides that we have online, as well as the direct link to the system. So if you don't know what that is, or you can't remember the email because I think it was sent out at the beginning of June, we're sending out an additional email on that.
Actually, we sent 2 emails out. One was on June 9th and one on June, I believe, 19th that I sent out, and the same information is there.
Yes. So the SP link is different from the 424 link.
And once we have all of campus on, then there will be one link. So you'll be able to go to one landing page and you will see both Cayuse SP and Cayuse 424.
Any questions? There was a question here.
I know about the linking and everything, how 424 and SP will be linked.
Will be paired.
Will be paired, right?
Right. 424 and SP can be paired. And I believe it's SPO that does the pairing. Oh, okay. So when your department goes live, I've heard that the department has the option of pairing 424 with SP on the department level. Okay.
And that's good because you can use the budgeting tool in 424, which is much more robust.
Right. Okay. So that means you can use the 424 budgeting tool, which is more robust than the SP budgeting tool right now.
And I would even say if they're going to be doing a federal proposal, that they would want to do the budget in 424, and they don't necessarily want to do the budget in SP. So
Okay.
If it's federal, you want it to be paired at some point. It doesn't have to be right away, guys. But I don't know how that works.
Okay. So suggestion is, or recommendation, federal budgets use 424 budgeting forms. Yeah. The grants.gov forms, right? Yeah. Oh, okay. One more comment, and then should we just go over
Let's
the
go do
proposals
that,
team
yeah.
because this
let's
is
do
leading
that.
over to proposals.
It's all related. Don't go
Right.
away too far.
I'm right there.
Yes, Paula.
So, I don't know if it's-
Give her the microphone. Just it's hard to hear online.
Just for.
And here's Paula,
Just
your
so the
sub-award
departments are
person.
clear, subawards is not sending out an automatic email once it's fully executed. You will get an email once the subaward is assigned, and in that email will have your Cayuse number and link, and you can follow the progress by going in Cayuse and seeing where we're at. So we're hoping that the system is going to be more transparent. So when you go into Cayuse, you'll see statuses, and there's going to be notes in there that state, received on this date, sent out to subaward on this date, fully executed on this date. You guys can go in and download your own documents, but you will not any longer have the CGT email that says it's been awarded with the links to a summary sheet, which we will no longer have, and that document. You guys will have to access Cayuse to get those documents out yourselves. So I just want to make sure that's clear. So this is starting next week. Departments need to sign up so they have access to that.
Okay, proposals?
Good morning, everyone. I'm Christi Hicksonbaugh, and this is,
I'm Bridget. Hopefully you all know me.
if not, we're the proposal team. Yay! Anyway, we wanted to give you a quick rundown about what to expect because there's been a lot of questions coming into the proposal inbox, and we want to just put your mind at ease. This is a new system, and their change is inevitable, but sometimes can be a little bit difficult, but we're here to try to make it as smooth as possible for you guys because we think that this system is going to be really, really great for you and for your faculty. So what you normally receive from CGT is an automated email that says your proposal has been assigned to a proposal analyst. You are not going to receive that email. If your proposal submission is for July 1 or later, that is now going into our new Cayuse SP system. So what we decided to do yesterday, because of some of the questions, which we appreciate, this is why we tried to make changes along the way to make it easier.
We appreciate feedback.
Yes, yes. So one of the things that we decided to do is we're going to include you on the email notification that we send to our Cayuse analyst who actually enters that proposal into the Cayuse system as if they were a department administrator. So until you're rolled out, your department is rolled out in Cayuse, there is a team of analysts that will be entering that data sheet information to create the proposal in Cayuse, which is required for the system's elements and components to make it work properly.
Innards.
Innards. Innards?
Innards.
Innards. Is that like a turkey thing?
Kind of.
Anyway, so that'll be entered by that Cayuse analyst, and then we'll also show or tell you who the proposal analyst will be assigned. You'll see what we call a project number that's being assigned. That will not be your proposal number. That is our tracking system for the hierarchy of that project. So you'll see that, but you'll get assigned an actual proposal number once it is entered by the Cayuse analyst. Then it'll go to the assigned proposal analyst for review, sorry. And then you'll receive your, what used to be called the PO8, which is basically your proposal review and comments on that proposal. And then in that email, you'll find your proposal number. Once your department has been released in Cayuse, or for Cayuse, rolled out in Cayuse, and you've received access to Cayuse, you can then go in using that proposal number to track your projects in Cayuse. And then you can track them all the way through the award phase and or subaward if there's any applicable subawards. So like Grace said, you're not gonna receive all the email notifications that you used to receive, which inundated the faculty, and most of them, to their respect, they did not review because they didn't want to be bothered by that. In the department, however, I know you guys really relied on that. So we're trying to find a shortcut and crossover to the new system until you get used to relying on that new system where you can view everything on your own instead of, hey, what's the status on this, to your analyst. You can look in it yourself now, which is good because then you can make shadow systems if you need to. It will show you things. It's really great. The other thing, go ahead. The other thing, like Brooke was saying, is that when you create an SF424 application, when you have a federal project in which you're submitting, because Cayuse 424 is for federal grants.gov system-to-system submissions. If you're submitting for USDA, NIH, blah, 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 creating that 424 application package, once you create it, and then you have access with your department who's rolled out in Cayuse, you can pair that application, which will fill in a lot of the budgetary information in Cayuse SP, so you don't have to duplicate that entry. In the time being, when you submit your proposals to our office through the proposal inbox, and you already have a Cayuse application prepared, let us know. We can actually pair your proposal in the interim. So again, you don't have to re-enter that budgetary information in Cayuse SP, or the analyst doesn't need to do that. So we just wanted to let you know that we can do that on the back end too, until you guys receive direct access to create that proposal in Cayuse 424 and then pair it with SP. Does that make sense? I know it sounds, is it me?
I've told it higher.
Okay, it just feels like it's in my face.
Chris, can you explain the difference between 424 and SP?
So 424, Cayuse 424 is a system-to-system proposal submission application package. It replaces system-to-system means that it is a application package for grants.gov submissions to federal agencies. Can you tell I don't use a mic very often? She's like, anyway, so it's for grants.gov proposal submissions. Just keep it there. The SP system is our whole data system that houses all of the proposal, award, subaward transactions that will now be able to see by the department administrators and all the faculty members and or researchers. SP also replaces the data sheet. It becomes all in one, so you won't have to complete the data sheet. It does electronic routing for signatures, so you don't have to worry about getting signatures from the chair who's out of town. They'll get an email notification from where they're at. They can go and view it, sign it, approve it, moving everything forward quickly and smoothly. So it's really nice. And a lot of people have asked it for electronic, and this is what we've come up with that seems to be the most secure as well as beneficial to all parties, because you can see the status as it goes through the system, which is really good. You were going to say it.
So real quick, I just also wanted to add regarding the emails, there are automatic emails that are generated via the system, thank you, that are going out right now. So for example, we have had a few submissions for the 5th already go through, and they've gone through Cayuse SP. Those emails are going to the PI. Right now, they aren't fully there. It's a good way to put it. So your PIs might have a couple questions. They're not going to the department admin automatically. This just happens when we change a role to a proposal approved or proposal submitted. Right now, the emails generated with the system aren't 100% accurate, but we believe on July 1st, that will change because that's the official go live date. So if you have a PI that is submitting for the 5th and wants to submit it before a long weekend and they're going down the Amazon River, luckies, just be aware that they might come back with questions and say, why does this say that there's an error and they can't find my name, for example? It's just temporary. So hopefully, like we said on the 1st, that will change. But there you will, and the PI still will be receiving automatic emails from the system. I just wanted to add that. Any other questions?
Well,
Oh, yay, and I'm still holding the mic.
I have a question. When will the chairs need to be using the Cayuse SP, the electronic data sheets?
So that goes along with...
Could you repeat the question?
Oh, sorry. So the question is, when will the chairs need to be added to Cayuse SP? That will happen. They will be one of the role managers for the department, and that will happen as the departments come on. So the earlier you volunteer your department to get onto the system, we will go and help your chair and your CAO, probably likely because the chairs might delegate that to their CAO, and help them get on board and get the department going. So they will need to be the ones, or the delegates will need to be the ones to go through the routing chain. So as soon as the departments are on board, say they're on board, that's when the chair will be on. Are there any other questions at this point? Yes, hi.
With the uploading the budget, do we have to put in an internal budget also with these 424s? We're using that for everything. Is there a place to upload that? Or?
The question is, for the uploading the budget, is there a place to upload the budget within Cayuse SP, or how does exactly that work? Right now, there is a place to upload attachments, so your scope of work, your internal budget, budget justification, that kind of thing. And right now, you can either do a cumulative budget. Let's say you're a pilot, you can do a cumulative budget of, all 5 years equals $500,000 broken out direct and indirect, or you can do a more detailed. Right now we're kind of just entering in the bottom line. Here's the directs and here's the indirects to get things moving, which we know that we will update later. But yes, there will be places to put your internal budget that's detailed as well. Are there any other questions? Okay, great. I'm going to run away.
As you do run into questions, or if you have questions that come up for your department that are specific to your department, please feel free to send the emails to proposals@ucdavis.edu, and we'll triage your questions. If it's not Bridget or I that's able to answer your question, we will look to management and or Sherry and the IT team to make sure that we can address what your needs are, to make sure that you're ready to go live, because it's going to be awesome.
Yeah. Everything is awesome song now.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Everything's awesome.
We like to have fun.
All right, if no more questions, we're
Thank
done.
you very much.
And then there's proposals that are due. So submit proposals 5 days in advance.
Thank you.
Yes, they are.
Okay. The 5th deadline. Yeah, we always have a joke about the 5th of July being the day after 4th of July. And just for some reason, that's the deadline for major NIH proposals. What do you want to say? You say it yourself.
Man, you want me to say it? Oh dear. So just be aware that this year, the 4th of July falls on Tuesday. Yeah, and the 5th is the day after, obviously.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Yeah. Thank you, Captain Obvious. That's, okay. So what we're asking the departments for, there's a lot of folks that, because there's a weekend and then only one day and then a holiday, a lot of people are going to be gone on that Monday.
That includes people in our
And
office,
that includes people in sponsor programs. So we're a little bit frightened about this deadline because we won't have, I think, sufficient bandwidth to get all the proposals just submitted on the 5th. So if you bring your proposal in the same day or even the Monday before the holiday, you are taking a big risk that it might not make it. Mm-hmm. So please, for this deadline, get those proposals in just as soon as you possibly can. If you're using SF424, fabulous, because then you have that error validation check ahead of time and you know whether it's going to have an error in it that is going to prevent submission, right, to grants.gov. So it's a really good thing if you're already in SF424 for this particular deadline. Also, if you're submitting on Monday or that Wednesday, which I do not recommend, there will be no sponsored programs review. None. All they're going to be doing is pushing the submit button. That's all they're doing. So if you as departments have not fully checked your budgets, if you haven't checked for errors that might prevent the submission from happening, just be aware, no complete review for this particular deadline. So please, please, please get us those things the week before, if at all possible. Thanks.
Thank you. Can I add a little bit to? It was, yeah.
Oh, that's today.
Yes.
Wow, I just didn't realize the timeline. Yeah, I mean, really, it's important. Go back to your departments and say, please, let's get this done in the next 2 days.
And you have to follow up on that. Actually, you saw an email, if you are in the list there, from me last week that we in there, just it's 2-3 sentences only. And I explained that if your proposal comes in anytime after tomorrow or during, I mean, actually it says no tomorrow, on the 29th or something. If it comes in that day, there is no guarantee it would go forward properly because of everything that Cindy said. One other thing that Cindy said, that if there's, regardless of if there's error or so on and so forth, the last day we would push them forward. If there are errors, we are not going to sit down and fix those errors because there are other proposals to go out. So if there is time, we would try to help, but you are taking a huge risk this time. So we are hoping that we won't lose proposals, but we might. That's reality. This one is working, I thought. I can reach out there. Okay, so one more.
I did volunteer. I told Ahmed I know how to submit proposals. I can do this. So long as I don't have to do a substantive review, we'll be good. But I can submit proposals too to get us through this deadline.
The issue is that, yeah, she said that, but we said we don't trust you. So let's get more serious. Let's see, vacation leave. Mike, are you ready to, you guys talk about vacation leave? We always talk about vacation leave, and you know that how the budget process has to work. Vacation, even though it's a benefit of having a job here, is not a part of benefits. Now, you guys tell us what you want to do.
Okay, well, why don't you introduce yourself? You all know me. I'm Grace Liu, Associate Director of Sponsor Programs, but...
Mike LeGrand, Director of Research Accounting.
Okay, so we have some questions about how to budget for vacation leave accrual. Okay, so we just want to clarify and give some guidelines. Okay, Mike, why don't you explain what vacation leave accrual is when in a budget?
So everyone that is eligible to earn vacation gets an assessment, and they get charged, all the FAUs that you get your payrolls against that has eligible for vacation gets charged an assessment or a leave accrual rate. And when you take vacation, they credit back to the accounts of where percentage of your hours taken vacation. So it's accrual to accrue for it, and it's a credit back when you take vacation. So if you look in the federal guidelines, that is really budgeting for contingencies. And the only place where they allow for budgeting of contingencies in the federal guidelines is for major infrastructure or construction projects. So where OPs and the UC standard was, you budget for the full year salary is the standard, and it is the department's responsibility to kind of manage their staff's vacation time. Knowing that HR issue says you can't force someone to go take vacation to meet a departmental budget process, but
I keep trying to force Ahmed.
I try to force James too, but I can't get him, or Francisco. But no, it's an issue. It seems to be on shorter projects where it's a less than a year. It's a very time intensive. The federal's not going to allow you to have a contingency budget in there. But I also think that budgeting for the full 8% leave accrual or 9% leave accrual rate is incorrect on a multi-year project, because you're going to get credits back. So you still need like a CAS 501. You have to have consistency in your budgeting and charging practices. So we've talked about this a little bit, and Grace got some potential ideas to help out with some of these. I'm non-federal.
Right. So basically, if your PIs and your project personnel take their vacation, it zeroes out. Right. So really what we're talking about is vacations for which your people are they're not taking. So for federal funding, like Mike said, really no vacation accrual can be budgeted because it's a contingency. So if it's federal funding, no vacation accrual can be budgeted. Now I know that there are people for state, county, private foundations that they are budgeting for contingencies. So here's just some guidelines. So short-term projects of less than 1 year, can have vacation accrual budgeted if the department can justify the need for it via historical data. So I'm expecting people to take vacation, all right? We do want to be a place where work-life balance is emphasized. So if you can show that there is a need for it, short-term projects can have vacation accrual budgeted. For multi-year projects though, so really long-term projects, we're recommending no vacation accrual can be budgeted because it's too much of a contingency. And so reminders, if you do have vacation accrual budgeted, so if it's a short-term project and there's a historical need for it, please report the vacation as salary in reports. Okay, and please remember to mark the vacation days on timesheets carefully so we can track those. Is there any questions?
Probably make a statement though too, that if you do budget, sorry.
If you are able to budget and it is less than a year and you're putting in there are benefits on top of the vacation. So you have to budget not only for the vacation, but also the benefits. So don't forget about that, or else you're going to be shortchanging yourself just a little bit.
But if you put the contingency or the budget as a salary, anytime your benefit rate, it will get you the correct benefits amount. So it is the same benefit rate as your salary would be charged as your vacation accrual. Then when you get credited back, and also kind of as an accrual, we kind of try to just, estimate the right amount, because you may accrue this year, and then when you take vacation next year after a merit increase, you're actually paying them back at a higher rate than what you've accrued. So it's always kind of this wash, and you try to manage your staff the best you can. So it's when you get a credit back to your account, it's at the people's current rate, not the rate that they were accrued the salaries at as well too. So
is that clear?
clear as mud.
Okay.
I guess I could talk about updates of fringe benefit rates, like deposit benefit rates. Been working with the government and got our draft acceptance on Friday. Had a couple edits or errors on it, so sent it back on Friday to them. They're supposed to be updating that, and I'll be getting the final submission or final approval. They said this week, but routing through the government usually takes a few extra days. The rates I posted as proposed are all exactly going to be approved except for that group A, and it's 1/10 of a point less. So they made me adjust something on that. So it's instead of 19.6, it's 19.5. Everything else got approved as what was submitted. One of the major changes this year and going forward because of the change in uniform guidance, and we just kind of took a while to implement it, is severance will now be funded through our fringe benefit rate. And so if you have layoffs due to budgetary or business practices, and it follows our severance policy of a week earned per year of service, up to I think it's 16 weeks you can accrue and pay out. We are putting in a process, and payroll will be transferring that off your FAUs and onto a central account to fund that out of our fringe benefit rates effective next week, July 1st. So severance, so if research projects are winding down or there's a reorganization, this is not just for sponsored funds, but all fund sources across the campus except for Chart H. And A&R would be included. So all fund sources except for a hospital, we will be funding those essentially through a small added to the fringe benefit rate to comply with the changes in uniform guidance. Uniform guidance moves personnel, the severance out of personnel salaries and actually into the fringe benefits section, and requires it to be allocated to all fund sources. So it's a little bit different change in how they described severance payments. So we had to change our accounting for it this year. So you guys, we are going to run a query on a monthly basis on the separation codes. So just basically if your departments or your faculty are winding out a program or need to lay off because of budgetary reasons, that will be covered centrally. We're not talking about covering someone a payment to get rid of someone. This is severance due to normal business practices and what happens throughout the department. So it's not paying someone off that did something wrong and you have to make a little payment to a settlement. This is not settlement. So this is actual true severance as based on our policy. And I got the policy in my car. I just don't remember the number off the top of my head. So, but it will be on a guidance memo that's me from sent out to budget office to all the assistant deans and the CAOs and stuff. So I'm trying to draft that today or tomorrow. So that should be a good change for departments that have to deal with that going forward. And I know there's some coming up this next year or so.
Okay. Good. No questions on 9 either. Yeah, it was, I guess, very clear. Why don't you do that? Yeah, you are here. Thank you.
All right, here's just a few reminders about awards. So I think we've covered Cayuse. All right, everything after July 1st will be visible in Cayuse, but anything received up through this Friday, June 30th, will not be visible in Cayuse. Okay, it will be in the old system. And by the way, we are trying to wrap up. This is also year end, so please get your compliance items, your PI concurrence in as soon as possible. The awards team would greatly appreciate that. And for those of you with CIRM awards, California Institute of Regenerative Medicine, their website is greatly updated with a lot of great resources for managing your awards. So if you have a CIRM grant, I encourage you to look at their website. They have video tutorials on progress reports and financial reports and prior approval requests. So it makes it really, they're really telling us how to work with them. Okay, and they have all of their regulations and policies on their website as well. Okay, we've covered the state travel ban list. Yeah. Okay, are there any questions for awards? Okay, thanks.
Thank you. I don't know if you have any updates from compliance. No updates from compliance, no updates from accounting, I know that. Well, any questions from you guys for anybody here? Or from online? I see more than 74, 75 people online. No? Yes.
Mike
just
had a
one.
great question. Does the state travel ban include layovers in airports?
Options go through Charlotte. So.
As long as you don't get out of the plane. No, I don't know.
Sandwich there?
Well, the purpose is not going to that state, is not. So you should be okay. There's a question somewhere here. Let me give you the.
Just a quick question about the budgeting for vacation leave accrual. Well, we need to do that as a separate line item on the budget.
Mikey,
In the
it's a
salary.
question for you.
Question for the budget.
Who's going to
You
budget?
include as personnel.
Yeah, including salaries. I mean, if you want to keep track of, I think it's a good thing to.
Is this an internal budget or?
Yeah, if it's an internal budget, if for like to keep track of it, it might be a good idea, especially if you want to be able to justify it later, you can be able to tell whether or not it was worth it, you know, and that's why we've kind of looked at that, is that it was really only significant for people who had less than that year, who weren't paying people, you know, for the entire year, because people who were there for the entire year or longer, that was really netting zero, or in some situations it was going, you know, below, because if they took more vacation than they accrued, you're actually paying less salary. So for internal budgets, I would encourage it. For external, no, lump it into salaries, please.
Thank you. Any other questions?
More question on
Wait a minute, just
You don't want to repeat
you
it
are
for
the voice
me?
of people online.
So as of July 1st, will we get email notifications of new awards?
Our current business practice is that we are going to forward the award notification that we get from the awards inbox to the awards analyst and then copy the department admin. Okay, so the department admin will be notified that we have an award. That's during the cutover period though. I don't know what will happen when we all go live. Our business processes are in a state of flux right now.
Okay, any other questions? It's 9:30. If no more, we are going to go meet the deadlines.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much for coming over. See you next time. Happy 4th of July.